Hi, my name is Ariana, and I am the Instruction and Outreach Librarian here at Schroeder Library. Today, we're going to be going over exploring EBSCO. EBSCO is one of our most popular library databases. It is a sort of database of different databases and can be found under Research Tools, Research Databases. From here, we're going to have a list of all our different databases. And so we're going to go ahead and click on EBSCO, which is the top one since they're listed alphabetically. And so from here, you can see the list of the different databases held within the database of EBSCO. So we can either go ahead and scroll through and pick the ones that are most relevant to our courses, reading the little blurbs underneath. I always like to start with Academic Search Complete as a nice sort of interdisciplinary one with a lot of different resources that you can explore. There's some other ones as well. APA Psych, APA Psych Info are both very popular ones if you're doing psychology, behavioral studies, any of that stuff. We also have Business Source Elite. CINAHL's a great one if you're looking into healthcare or nursing or biology. And we have a variety of other ones. We have our 2 ebook databases, which is how we house all our ebooks, as well as a bunch of other ones that you can explore on your own. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and hit select all so I can also show you how to edit that once you get into your actual searching as you decide to add more or less to narrow down or expand your results. So from here, we'll go ahead and hit continue. And this is the part where we're going to add our search terms. To find our search terms, we're going to think of our thesis of what we want to study or what we need to write a paper about. And we're going to pull out those most important terms. For example, if we wanted to do a research paper on social media's effect on happiness or well-being, we would go ahead and pick out the terms happiness. And from here, it's also going to suggest a couple other terms that we can use. So we'll select this one of happiness or well-being or life satisfaction. And we'll also go ahead and add the term social media. And from here, for this example, I'm putting them on different lines. You don't have to put them on different lines. You can put them on the same line. If you were putting them on the same line, we'd want to go ahead and add these parentheses between our terms so it knows that it's looking for happiness and social media, not just happiness or well-being or life satisfaction and social media, but happiness and social media or well-being and social media. But again, don't have to do that. We can also just separate them out onto our different lines if that keeps it more organized for you. These and ors are, and also nots are what is known as Boolean search operators. And they're what we're going to use to piece together our different search terms as we kind of puzzle piece together the terms that we want to use to be able to bring back the results that we need. Again, they can be found here, or you can type them in here as well. Once we're happy with our key terms, we can also play with this select field option where you can add if you know the specific title and you want to make sure these words are in the title. If you're just looking for them in search terms. If there was a specific author whose your work you wanted to look into on this, for example, maybe is it Brenna Brown, or here it is, to see if she wrote anything on this topic that we want to look into. We could add that. For now, because we want to just see what's out there, I'll go ahead and detract that one, and we'll start with a simpler search. Again, once we're happy with our fields and our search terms, we can also scroll down here and add some of these additional limiters. They can be added either at this stage in your research or at the next page. From here, if you want to make sure the results you're getting are peer-reviewed as requested by most of your professors, depending on the project, click this peer-reviewed button. Make sure that the results you're getting back are going to be of that higher scholarly caliber. If you want to make sure you have access to the full text, you can click this full text button. You can also leave that unclicked. It just means there may be some additional results that aren't currently in our collection, but that we should be able to get for you through interlibrary loan. We also have this option over here under publication date. If your professor has said that this is a resource that needs to be published within the last 5 years, last 10 years, this is where you're going to add that. So we would just type in our search date of when within the last 5 or 6 years, or whatever our parameters are. We could type that in here. From here, if you're looking specifically for an image, we could add that. If you're looking specifically for things with colored photographs, charts, graphs, any of that over here. And then as we scroll further down, it'll even let you limit specifically by the different databases. For example, this one is going to be special limiters for academic search complete. These are only going to limit within that academic search complete database, because some of the databases have different limiters that they can or can't let you search by. For example, let's see if I can find, yeah. So under this APA Psych info, you'll notice this one has age groups, as well as a methodology option. These aren't going to be available for all databases. It'll only search within this one. I tend to like to use these as sort of examples and then just type in those appropriate key terms to that additional first search box, but it is an option you have if you want to limit for specific databases within your database. But we can go ahead and hit search when we're ready. And from here, we can see all our different results. As you'll notice, we have quite a few, some of which we don't automatically have in our collection, as you'll notice by this request through interlibrary loan button. You will notice that this one, even though it says that request through interlibrary loan, you do have access to it as indicated by the open access lock right by the title. To access this one, we're going to go ahead and click on it. But instead of clicking this request interlibrary loan, we are going to go ahead and find this digital object identifier, also known as the DOI, and we're going to click on that. And that's going to take us to this page where we should have access to, full text. And here we have access to the article, and we don't have to request an interlibrary loan or wait to have access to that. We have it right now. Another option, if you found it through interlibrary loan, or if this interlibrary loan option is coming up, one other option you have is to check Google Scholar, which will open a new tab. Scholar.google.com. And from here, you can type in the different search terms and see if it has this little PDF or an HDMI link. From here, you should be able to click on that, and then it takes you directly to it. It's just one way of kind of supplementing those resources that we know it's the high scholarly caliber because it's coming up on EBSCO through that peer-reviewed link that we clicked, that we specifically wanted those peer-reviewed sources. So we know it's a good source. It's just not within their specific database, so we can kind of narrow it that way. There are going to be some that say full text through ERIC. If you're using ERIC, that's one where you'll go ahead and click that. Then it'll take you here, hit the download button, and then we have access to that article. Hopping back, in most cases, if we have it, you'll see this PDF full text, which you'll click on to be able to access the file directly. And from here, you have the article. You can read through it. Once you've found the article, whether it was through open access, ERIC, or just directly through EBSCO, you have a couple options. I don't recommend using this folder to save it if you're going to save it, because this will only save for the duration of your current search. It won't still be there if you save it and then come back in an hour after your class to continue your search. It will wipe it after each search session. So I recommend using this permalink right here, which is this link which is a link that will always work no matter if it's been an hour, a day, a month, a semester. This one will always work. This one in the search bar will expire and it won't always work, or it may bring you back to that list of resources instead of this specific article. So we're going to always want to make sure we use the permalink. Another option you have is you can email it to yourself using this little email button. If you want to kind of save yourself and you still want to use the folder, go ahead and use the folder, but then make sure you pop back over to the folder, select all, and then email them to yourself. So that way you're still saving it. And since it will disappear from that folder, but you can maybe save yourself a little email of just one email instead of 20. But once you found the article, you can scroll through, you can read it. If you decided that this was too many articles to go through, we have a couple of other additional options to kind of narrow it down. Is under these, there's the subjects heading. And from here, you can add additional key terms that you want to maybe add in to your topic. Up in this top one, like maybe we want to look into a specific age range. We could use that limiter down there, but that's only going to limit within those certain databases. So it'd probably be easier and more effective to just add that in here. For example, we'll say children and adolescents and youth, or all that list, and we'll search. And that brings us over 1,600. But if we go back and we just do it by age here, we say all children, we only get just under 300. So that's why I like adding it to the search term instead. It gives us a little bit more to work with. Again, as I mentioned, we have all sorts of other limiters you can use. For example, if you wanted to look specifically at the geography, you could narrow down by geography. And again, you can either use these if you're using a specific database, or I like to use them just as an additional source of locating key terms I can add to my search. From here, we have a sliding scale if we wanted to move it up or expand it further, depending on the number of results we were getting. If we wanted to change our databases, we could either go down to database. And here, a neat thing is it shows you how many results are coming back from each of the different databases. So you can use this to get an idea of which ones you may want to include on future searches, or which ones to maybe kind of skip and not worry about including. For example, green file, it's bringing back 22, but it may not necessarily be ones that are relevant. Maybe we don't worry about adding that one next time, but we make sure that we do add communication source. It's bringing back a decent chunk of them. That is the basics of EBSCO for article searching. Another neat thing is if you're navigating away from your searches and maybe you realize, oh, hey, I played with a limiter and now I'm not quite finding what I'm looking for. I wish I could go back a few searches. You do also have this search history option where you can see how many results are each one is bringing back, and you can jump back to that different search. For example, maybe I wanted to see this one. I can go ahead and hit view results, and it'll take me back to that one, and I can kind of see my different results and either continue finding through that narrowed down version of it. Again, adding any limiters. But another option for changing databases is there's also this choose database option at the top where you could narrow down or add some additional databases. This example, we'll go ahead and deselect all. We're going to narrow down our search to specifically ebooks. We'll go ahead and take out social media so we can get more results for this one. Because we're looking in just the books, it's not going to let you find that peer-reviewed, just because that's not how books are published in a peer-reviewed versus not peer-reviewed setting. That's more of a uh, article thing. But we'll go ahead and hit search from here. And it's still showing our search history. But underneath, we can find our results that we can look through and see all the different books we have access to. From here, it does give you the option to do a full download. However, in order to actually be able to download it, it will ask you to sign in like this. For this, you will need to create your own account. This isn't just your Concordia account that you may need to use to access EBSCO if you are trying to access it from off campus, which is just your e-number and Canvas password. This is a separate account that you would have to create on your own. So I think it tends to be a waste of time, especially since if you wanted to save parts of it, it does give you the option to do that without having to log in by just clicking on the book. And then you have this save pages option. And from here, this one lets you save up to 100 pages. You can save either this one and this current one. You could save the entire section, which will give you an estimate of how many pages. Right now, because we're on the title, it's saying it's 223, which is more than we have access to. But we could go down here to the different table of contents, and it'll also give you that download option here for the specific one. Or maybe this one, chapter 5, looks particularly interesting and relevant to our research, so maybe we want to save that one. Download that. It'll give you the page limit again, and then the number of pages for the chapter 18. You have the option to download that as a PDF. Save. And then you have access to be able to use that offline as well. You also have the option to send it to yourself as an email. But again, we can just kind of scroll through, read. We have, again, our pre-made citations over here that we can scroll through. We have that permalink option again if we wanted to save it, or if we had a question on a resource that you wanted to email either to your professor or to a librarian, or maybe it's a group project and you want to share that resource with the group, have that as an option as well. Back to the results list. And again, here we also have language limiter, publisher limiter, if there's a specific publisher whose work you're looking for. Again, we can click on the title, which will take us to this sort of front page where you have all this information that you can use to double check your citation, because if you're going to be using the pre-made citations, always make sure you double check them, because sometimes as you're exporting them, the formatting can get thrown off. These are also not always 100% correctly done as standards change. Sometimes there's a period missing or something funky happens with the capitalization. So always make sure you double check those. If you have any questions on citations, you're welcome to check out our citation libguide or email a librarian or check the writing studio as well, all of whom would be happy to help. But that is the basics of EBSCO. Are there any questions?